Just sit there. All right. I think we got those logistics taken care of.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It's uh it's Friday.
How you doing?
Really good. Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Moving through a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
emotionally and energetically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
I hear the crows.
I just did hear those crows. Yeah. I got reoriented. I was about to let you talk and now I'm talking.
Go. It's good. It's all good.
But you just mentioned the crows and oh wow. There's a blue sky out there. Um
Yay for that.
yeah, the days are getting longer now, a little bit. Not super long, but longer, but there's a full moon. I know there's a full moon right out straight ahead of my window. I just noticed that. I love when the moon is out when it's a blue sky. That's one of my favorite
It's
things.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yesterday
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But I haven't,
Yeah.
it's been so cold that I just haven't been going out for walks. I've been like kept up. Like I have
I've been
not
wondering
been
actually.
venturing out because it's been single digits. There's a lot of snow. And so I haven't been hearing a lot of birds or seeing a lot of birds. Just kind of, it's as, it's not good. I got to get out.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just peeking out my back window this morning, eating my breakfast. And I just, it's so interesting. I mean, I know our eyes physiologically are attracted to motion. That's just, I mean, it's just one of the things that happens. It just, if something moves, our eyes automatically go to it. But beyond physiologically, I think those birdies must have known that I hadn't seen him in a while because I was looking out my back window and I just caught this little flutter. And this little guy was so high up in a tree. There's no way I would have seen him had he not moved or if I was looking for a bird. And wouldn't you know, the way it always happens, as soon as I saw him, he jumped to another branch and then another one caught my eye and then another one. And
Oh,
yeah, I
lovely.
was just so grateful in that moment. Like, yeah, I need to get outside and walk and just be outside and outside.
Outside of the
Yeah.
infernal
Yeah.
home, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, we have a full moon in 2 days, and I was just talking about this actually on the previous video on my YouTube channel that I posted yesterday because this one feels. I am going through, as I said, a lot of shifting. I just made a really big claim for myself. Thank you, crows. I just made a really big claim for myself on something that I want to, as a part of my mission, have more
Okay.
of, and it required me to kind of like I mean, my pants are already, my big girl pants are already on. They're already buckled. The belt's already buckled. I don't know. It just required me to stretch. Like I was talking last week, like and just like as I was doing something that made me uncomfortable because I was up leveling with this thing I chose without going specific here.
Sure.
Thanks. I really made a very conscious intention as I was doing this, up leveling, and in this what could have been uncomfortable, I shifted out of that and into a command mode of, well, I'm doing this in order to have this. So rather than focusing on like the upsurge of a little bit of like the excited energy that happens and where I could have gotten challenged with, oh my God, how much time is this going to take? How much money is this going to take? I was just like, going. And so it was an interesting, I mean, I usually make choices with a conscious intention, but it was, and I'm not even talking about self-mastery or management of my self-talk. I'm talking about beyond that in the co-creator mode. Yeah. Because I was making this choice to have a certain outcome I desire and that I'm primarily have been guided to for a couple of months now that I've been focusing on with my team.
Okay.
And I see that there is like an area where there's a hole that isn't getting adequately, or not even adequately, but isn't getting really effectively spoken to, and it's a need in my mission and business. And so in comes the synchronicity of this person, I don't even know how they found me, offering something in service of exactly what I had been looking for and what I found the hole in. And so it required me, as I've done quite a few times, like when I had the radio show, and then when I worked with the business coach to come out of the one-on-ones back to back and come online, uncomfortable level of investment in money and time. But this time I did it with such a clear clarion call, and I've done it like this before. It was just so different this time. I don't know how to use words to communicate how different it felt, because it was like all of the, I mean, sure, the crows were going off, but also the breeze that happened in the way it swayed. There was so much responsiveness and what felt like alignment and acknowledgement from having made that choice. And
Lovely.
the up leveling is so important right now. It feels like looking at like the old version of you, maybe even sometime last year. I don't know if this is true for you. Please tell me. Do you feel like at some, I actually do, just instantly, intuitively knowing what you've chosen through the past year. Could you identify a certain point where you saw not just your choices, David, but your momentum and motioning and energy was at a new level?
Can you see that? Well, what I feel to say is that I'm not sure we get to see that, but that could just be my experience, because when I was thinking about like when you were talking about when you're making these choices, like, the crows and the breeze blowing, and someone could very easily hear that. And for me, when things like that happen, because it's very easy to, when we get, it's very easy to just kind of create stories around things based on what we want to see, as like, oh, that thing out there happened, that wind blew, or that bird crowed, therefore this, right? It's very easy to let our just kind of our regular conscious mind just kind of do that. And I'm not sure how helpful that is. For me, what's helpful is like when you were talking about those elements, when that sort of thing happens to me, for a long time now, I've just kind of seen that as a little tickle, like a little hello, like just like I'm not going to draw a conclusion one way or the other from that. But what I am going to do is say, oh, yeah, this is not just me here figuring this out. There's something else going on here. I'm supported in ways that I cannot know.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm gonna make this choice, and I'm gonna learn from that choice one way or the other. But I know that I'm not 100% in charge. I'm not.
Oh my God, no.
Or even like that 100%. I mean, I'm not going to put a number on it, but it's so I don't know. I think I was thinking about
Can I just interject for a second before you go
sure.
there?
Yeah.
So you're talking to somebody who, from even when I was in the public school system in Florida, before I ever went into the international school system and went overseas, I was with a male colleague, and it was just as ADD and ADHD was getting diagnosed after they had already come out with the first form of medication. And there were we created a after-school club for boys who were anxious. And I think there were just a few girls, and it was interesting. We targeted boys because that was who was getting nailed with the ADD, ADHD.
Right.
People. And so one of the first things I did with them was I took them outside and I showed them how, when we do a certain something in our consciousness and subtle energy system, how it affects the bush or the hedges or the trees from our localized field to the non-localized field. So I've been, it's in my signature program in one of the modules. I take people outside and show them how to talk with the non-localized field. So I just wanted to say that because you can see, I mean, like there's a teaching here that I'm not going to go into, because part of the teaching is if there's a whole wind going on and all the trees like kind of far from you, that isn't you. But if there's a tickle of a leaf right above your head where you're standing, then that's some interaction with you. So like instead of just blatantly dismissing it as I'm projecting my stories onto the greater field, well, sure, isn't that what this whole thing is about? But we want to make sure what we're projecting is accurate, right? And so when we're interpreting, we want to make sure we're empty enough and clear enough to gain an accurate perception rather than the projection of what you want it to mean. So that's one set of using projection. Another example of using projection is when you want to create a certain outcome. Holding true to that, like the claim I made when I made that choice and invested, like I just started talking about earlier, the claim I made with, okay, so this I desire, I'm doing this, making this choice and doing this because to meet this desire. And I held firm in that within my consciousness and subtle energy system and then projected it out, right? So there's different uses of projection. It's a huge thing I teach to the vibrational great practitioners. So you can hear now why I had a little bit of an edge and I had to interject because there's more to it than that. I love what you described. It feels like a tickle, and you're not alone. Yeah, that's a good interpretation. And you are supported beyond ways you even know of. Yes.
Thinking about, no, I love that clarification. Thank you.
Thanks.
Because typically when we think about projection, it gets very like psychological and kind of negative.
In one arena. In one arena, in one application of it. Yeah. The most beginning, I would say.
I was just
up leveling.
Well, actually, I was just thinking about what you were just saying about getting clear enough because
beforehand.
Yeah, because it's directly relevant to something that I was reading and rereading and then thinking about.
Let's go there. If you were rereading and rereading.
Yeah, well, it was about in terms of meditation, in terms of just an aspect of what the idea is to get still enough and get quiet enough so that stillness can be filled in by grace. Like we don't get to do everything. And I just felt it felt so good to me and comforting to me that my job is to become still. My job is to become still enough and to enter into that stillness and that space enough to allow for grace to fill it in. And that felt so nourishing to me.
Yummy,
and, and it seems like there's a, it's just such, I don't know. I couldn't even think years ago. I mean, or even a few minutes ago, just talking about just like, it's not all up to me. It's not all up to you. Like once you step out of that, I have to figure everything out. I have to figure everything out and do it and make it happen. And you recognize that even if you wanted to, that's not how it works. It's just such a relief. It's just like, oh, I mean, it doesn't mean you sit back and just do nothing and just wait for stuff to happen to you. That's the opposite. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just such a relief to know that. Yes. I guess because I hear you say, and I hear you say co-creation, and that's certainly something that others have been starting to say for a while too. And it's kind of like, what does that mean? And so, to me, that's what it means. that we just our first job. Whether in the co-creation realm as you're referring to, or in the practice and our spiritual practices, our meditation practice is to get still, is to get quiet, is to do what we can do and not try and do what we can't.
And then over time, it's like an emptying, So mm-hmm. I know that.
For that space, to create that space, yeah?
Yeah, for the co-creation, because David, yoga From Sanskrit to English, to yoke with. That's its definition. To yoke with. What do you think you're yoking with? The divine, you know? So it's like the more and more we get cleared and emptied of the ego mind and all its storylines, all the self-talk we do hear, and then all that much more of what's in our consciousness that we don't hear, and we get that cleared and elevated, there's a more welcoming, a higher vibration. My overall consciousness is both the self-talk I hear, and again, what exists mostly in our consciousness is the self-talk we don't hear. Mm-hmm. Getting all of that elevated to a higher vibration so that we have less trauma sitting in the back. We have less unconscious imprints and conditioning from our parents. Like one of the ones in our family, Seth refers to it, our youngest brother, Seth refers to it from me talking with him about it as the guilt antenna.
Mm. Oh, yeah, good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So when
that's only our family. No one can.
No one else, especially no Catholics, no other Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of clearing it all, you get higher and higher frequencies to the nature of your thoughts that you do hear and the ones that you're not hearing. And so that is an easier consciousness and subtle energy system that the divine can interact with more effectively. Like if somebody, so when I've been teaching like people to go out to trees or bushes or flowers or plants and test their interaction with it, if they're dense, like with worry or guilt or shame, or it's barely movable. Like, and then when you see me do it, it's like, and a lot of that's the heart. So I know that I've been saying for decades now, I help open the heart chakra, do stuff on the heart chakra as a backdoor approach to quieting the mind. You've been glorious to watch on your path, though, because after a certain amount of disciplining of your ego mind from your meditation practice, when we first talked about it before you took off and started doing more and more exploratory stuff and becoming who you here to be, there was a beautiful transition you made after you had gained enough discipline on your ego mind and you had gotten still enough and you had realized you're not your thoughts and you had gained enough detachment from being your thoughts and being at the mercy of your thoughts. You then really beautifully started, and you've always been gentle, David. So I think that you have an innate capacity or connection with your heart as the ruler of you. But
for better or worse.
Yeah, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Where you chose to go, though, you didn't just stay with disciplining the mind. You naturally evolved into the yogic path, the meaning of yoga, to yoke with the divine. It means to yoke with. I'm adding in the divine because that's the implication. So, I mean, it's just been really graceful to watch how much more you've become heart-centered in a way that's nurturing and nourishing for you, as opposed to like when you said for better or for worse, when you were growing up and you were gentle. You weren't always gentle. I'm thinking right now of your lip-syncing performance in high school.
Yeah, you've already mentioned that in a previous one of these. Yes.
What'd you say?
You have mentioned that exact example before.
It's just such an impression you left on me with the video Seth showed while he was here for Thanksgiving of you in the garage practicing with your buddies before it went live on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because while you're not being aggressive, it's a different version of gentle David, you know, and so sometimes, I don't know, I'm going to stop there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, you use the word graceful in there, and that's and I mentioned that word grace just a few moments ago, and it's almost like, as I'm just sitting here in this moment thinking about it, just like you almost encapsulated what I was describing earlier, where if that is our job, is to get still enough to do that work that we can do, to
Mm.
allow for that grace. If we can, I heard, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was Swami Kriyananda saying it or if he was quoting Paramhansa Yogananda talking about simply about opening the shade. It's like the light, the sunlight is always there. That's why he loved to use the word shade as opposed to darkness, where shade
Oh,
is,
lovely.
yeah, because the light hasn't gone anywhere.
Isn't it interesting when you're in a plane how you can always get to the light,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
no
love
matter
that.
the weather
Hmm.
down below? It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just wondering now, sitting here, just thinking about that visual of if that's what we're doing, when we're doing what we can do, when we're doing the work that we have to do, to sit and get quiet enough, get still enough, um, open into that space enough. Are we not pulling the shade across to
Yeah.
let the light in? And so it's what you were just describing there, as far as whatever your inherent nature is. You mentioned, heart centered or not. That doesn't matter. Pulling that light is there, or no matter what your constitution. I mean, we all have our different paths, right? Have our different way of going about it, but that light can't not be there. And so I'm not sure that it's. I mean, I've heard you say it's a. I get what you say, that it's a backdoor approach, because you're not, when you're working with your heart, because you're not directly working with like concentration or the
Anxious
mind directly.
thoughts.
But it's, yeah, but I'm not sure how backdoor it actually is. Just the way that the heart and mind are connected, the way the feelings um,
Yeah.
just kind of drive everything.
I'm not saying feelings are in the heart, though. I believe from everything, it's not I believe, from everything I've studied, seen, and have been taught, particularly in India around the chakra column, and then all the work I've done on clients' systems, the sacral's the feeling life, yeah? The heart is more as you would put it, I think the mother is nurturance, like holy divine mother, that level of nourishment and nurturance, that to me is the heart chakra, even though there's a ton of other aspects to the heart chakra. And even every chakra has a right to it, and the sacrals is the right to feel the way you feel.
Mm.
So I'm sorry to be parsing out like the definitions. That one's just
You're
important to
okay.
me. I like the flow on a Friday and the peace and the harmony of, yeah, I get what you're saying. You use your words, I use mine. Instead of like the technician that I can be and the teacher that I can be to get precision in where it's needed.
It all works, over the. You know what I was thinking about right before we logged on here
No?
was, and this is something very very close to you, because you remember back in the day, your first book, What If There's Nothing Wrong, and I just the book is what it is, but the title, just like if all you did was like read the title of that, What If There's Nothing Wrong, um it is such a massive shift in consciousness, when you start asking that question. Because, and the reason this came up was because I was doing, I'm sorry.
It's life changing,
Yeah, yeah.
paradigm changing. That's what it's meant to be.
Because I was doing a little bit of research, well, not research. I was sharing with a friend a little bit about some supplements that I had taken back when I was going through some healing in my digestive system, that I know you know a lot about, years ago. And
Years ago. Woohoo!
yeah, the and I was going through some of the, I had to actually, in order to find out this exact information, I had to go back to the notes that my naturopathic doctor had given me on my second visit. And so I have a file of all that. And so I was flipping through the papers, and I went back and I was looking at it. And then I just so I got the information I needed, but then I kind of started flipping through. This is a really interesting thing to do. It's a really interesting thing to do, like on seclusion, to go through past journals. I did a little bit of that on the train last week because there was something particular I was interested in, something that came through a couple of years ago, and then I came across something else that made me think back to it. I'm like, what was I writing about in my journal for 2 weeks before that happened? So it's just interesting to be able to go back to see.
Totally.
It's very easy to think that you're the same or to not know where the change happened. Like you asked me recently, can you put your finger on when this happened? Well, no, not consciously right here in this moment, but it's real.
That wasn't what I asked. But
No, I
keep
know
going.
I didn't quote you, but you asked me if I could, where I'm going with this, so that I don't get
Yeah, keep
completely,
going.
yeah, is that, but it was helpful to go back and just to see where I've been, um, on this particular healing path. And, what I was noticing
Hmm.
was that shift into, I was relating to a version of myself in the past where I always thought there was something wrong, no matter what, whether it was a physical sensation or anything. And I was relating this back to our consciousness. Like our conscious mind is problem oriented. So as we do this work and we get some detachment from that problem oriented conscious mind, and we get some space, we create that space, and we change our consciousness. Like it's such a nice bumper sticker to say be solution oriented, but that just doesn't happen by itself. You don't just like flip a switch and say, okay, I'm going to focus on the solution, because our conscious mind, our ego mind, it's problem oriented. And I was thinking back and looking back at all of that. And as that physical healing was happening, I was going through that process at the same time. I was practicing meditation and practicing yoga and expanding those practices. And so it was just, they weren't happening in isolation,
Oh no.
as I go back. And so just to be able to, in a moment when like something happens that we prefer weren't happening or that's changed, just to be able to take that breath and if you're not in that consciousness, shift into that consciousness of what if nothing's wrong?
What if there's nothing wrong?
Yeah. What if there's nothing wrong? It just encapsulates so much. That one question encapsulates so much of this shift into trust and curiosity, and out of that, problem oriented consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, that was the intention of using it. I titled it back when I was still in Taiwan and was in my 10th year of taking in life over there and who I was living over there and who I was able to be living over there. And coming back to the States, it's multi-layered. Yeah, so it's like exactly what you just said. And then it's also like, what if there, so I go through layers of society that causes us to not have a great medical care system, layers of our mind. So it's all these different layers that are ultimately asking, here, look at what we have created by being so problem focused, and what else is possible when we go into the focus of what if there's nothing wrong. Do the work to get your consciousness at that level, and we'll watch the whole paradigm change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like just from like a collective consciousness standpoint. I remember reading that. I don't remember whether it was a study or what it was. And there was actually, I don't know if it was a practice, an experiment. I don't know what you'd call it, but a certain number of practiced meditators went to a particular city and meditated a certain amount of time in that certain location, and they could they could document like a drop in crime,
Yeah.
like over right over a period of time.
Have,
So Go ahead.
Have you checked out the Schumann resonance? SCH. I've talked to you about it before,
You
yeah?
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you have.
that's another way of recording like strong emotional reactions on planet Earth. And so it spiked on 9/11 worldwide.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will pay attention to the Schumann resonance to get a sense of the collective energetic, to see how much it's spiking or how calm it is. But I'm also just talking about too, like oh, I just love where you went with it. But the idea of what if there's nothing wrong, right? I remember starting in like 2016-ish, I was using a meme saying, I was using quite a few different memes saying the same thing of it, it takes a lot of shifting to accept a possibilities-based paradigm rather than a problem-based paradigm.
Yeah. And that shifting, it's not a, I don't know. I don't, you can't just necessarily walk down the street and I guess I'm thinking like kind of like the what if in the same way that that crime dropped when all those people in a concentrated way were sending out that vibration of that consciousness, like what would happen if that just happened kind of at a societal level,
Heart
like
coherence.
that shift, like if that shift from problem from like that shift from, well, there must be something wrong to what if there's nothing wrong, like if that happened en masse,
It is, David.
the change is happening,
It's
not
in
as
process.
not as fast as some of us would all like it to be, but yeah, well, we were talking a little bit about that last time, right? About
Yeah. We're actually ahead. Some people say, some of my colleagues who I trust, I hear one of them say we're actually ahead of it, of what's expected for the amount of collective consciousness to raise. We're actually ahead of what was expected and anticipated and predicted back in 2011-ish, starting in 2012.
go
Yeah,
us.
I know, I
Way
know.
to go, everybody.
And it's it's so easy to say, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." Look at and then list like three different examples right off the top of your head of
Sure.
where there's divisiveness, of where there's pain and suffering, where there's injustice.
Right.
But all of that is coming to the surface so that we can not hide our heads in the sand and say, "What if there's nothing wrong?" But be aware of the challenges and at the same time have the level of confidence in trust in unwavering unshakable heart dedication to there's more possible and we're creating it with the divine, we're co-creating it with the divine. I mean, another way to say this is we're bridges of heaven and between heaven and earth. I use that a lot.
Mhm.
Just isn't that visual beautiful?
Well, amen,
Yeah.
sister.
Amen, sister. Amen, brother. I really it's so challenging in some ways to, and especially if you're of a lower consciousness. And again, we talked about this last week. This is the design of it, right? To raise your to get your nature of these times. That's in part why they're so intense,
Mhm.
because there's also at the same time auspiciousness. There's so much increased support. Are you invoking the support daily, by the way? The invisible support you talked about?
Yeah, yes, I pray
Beyond prayers,
every day. Be,
different than prayers.
not necessarily different. Well, not the way that I address uh, those who are looking after me.
Uh-huh.
Those are prayers. At least
Yeah.
I think of it all as I guess I think of it all as prayer. But I'm sure that there's nuance that what you're referring to. We can maybe we can talk about that a little bit next time, huh?
We're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that she got the email, seemingly random email, not a formal acceptance, but just, hey, here's the acceptance party that everybody's coming to.
That's pretty cool. I got an update if you're on that. I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Bye.